Oh my gosh, is that Katy Perry?
Yeah, how'd you know?
I am the biggest Katy Perry fan ever. The song is so good, but the music video is even better. Over 1 billion people have viewed it. Katy Perry playing as Cleopatra is perfect. She fits the role perfectly. Oh, if I could have lived in ancient Egypt.
Well, yeah, that would be an interesting time to live, but the fact of the matter is, Katy Perry is not the woman for the role of Cleopatra, and it's society's fault. I could almost make a podcast about it.
Well, hello and welcome back to What History Got Wrong. I am Midshipman 4th Class Griffin Satterfield. I'm from Spokane, Washington, and this is my co-host BJ Brown. We both hope you had an excellent Thanksgiving break. We're back on the podcast, and this week BJ will be educating me and all of our listeners on Cleopatra, because as I thought from the Katy Perry music video, I assumed Cleopatra was a beautiful queen, and I assumed that our culture portrayed that as to be. And I think BJ's got some words about that. So BJ.
Yeah, so history got that wrong. Cleopatra was maybe not as beautiful as one might think. In addition, we're not only talking about Cleopatra, but we're also going to talk about society's fascination with fitting people, especially women in the boxes. This week, let's start talking about the Dark Horse music video, because that music video is a perfect example of how pop culture misconstrued Cleopatra's image. Griffin, how about you describe it to me?
Okay, so in this music video, which I love, by the way, and 1 billion other people love who's watched the scene, there are 2 major scenes in this video that kind of construe this image of Cleopatra being sexually suggestive. The first scene, Katy Perry is seen in a white summer dress with lots of makeup on and looks like a movie star. Absolutely stunning. The other scene is Katy Perry, and she and some backup dancers are on a pole, dancing in a very sexually suggestive way. And to clarify, I'm not saying it's Katy Perry's music video that caused me and many others to think that Cleopatra was some seductive queen. I mean, when you look up Cleopatra Halloween costumes, it comes up under the sexy Halloween costumes. So clearly, society has gotten something wrong if you BJ believe that Cleopatra was not this beautiful goddess that everyone thinks she is.
Exactly. It's a culture problem. So if you look at one paper by Ella Shohat, it talks about how Cleopatra was depicted in modern cinema. The first part focuses on the uncertainty of the color of her skin, because she's actually Greek, not Egyptian. Author then mentions medals depicting her with features that are typically considered ugly.
See, that's so funny, because Katy Perry is not known to be ugly. It's actually the reverse. Katy Perry is known to be this extremely attractive pop star. So, very interesting.
Okay, anyways, they then go on to say that cinema, being visual, had to choose a way to depict her. Because of the politics of Hollywood in the 60s, they had no choice but to depict her as white. The culture of this time favored the white is beautiful aesthetic. Many films of this time fetishized white beauty. Thus, they could not portray her ugly features with a white actor during this time because of Hollywood's fairy tale logic of moral goodness.
Wow. So she was actually like a good leader, but people, aka Hollywood, was focused on her beauty?
Exactly, Griffin. Now you're thinking. Shoha also explains that we often misplace our emphasis on her looks instead of her intellectual power, and how modern society has a gaze focused mostly on Cleopatra's eroticizing beauty. She then cites the film Cleopatra and says how it sexualizes her and how a perfume company depicts her in a sexual way in their advertisement. She says, it seems that the historical Cleopatra not only dazed and disoriented her lovers, but that she has also dazed and disoriented archaeologists, Egyptologists, historians, artists, writers, and filmmakers. It sums up her argument pretty well, because filmmakers were forced to depict her. They did so to suit their needs and the demand of the time. The perception they created has stuck with her until today.
That's very interesting. So, are you saying this misconception of Cleopatra being this beautiful goddess began in the 1960s with Hollywood?
I guess you can say that, but it was certainly advanced by the filmmakers and such. Jeff Wallenfeld, a historian editor at Britannica's Encyclopedia, believes Cleopatra's perception as this beautiful lady started as early as Augustus Caesar. Griffin, go ahead and read this quote on what Jeff had to say.
Got it. He says, quote, "The image of her as a sultry seductress likely stems from a narrative originally pushed by Octavian, aka Augustus Caesar, to rationalize his rivalry and conflict with fellow Roman Mark Antony. And for reference, Cleopatra married Mark Antony. Anyways, Augustus wanted to make Mark Antony look like a fool, quote, who was portrayed as having been manipulated by a foreign temptress. What's more, casting Cleopatra as an evil beauty conveniently downplayed her competence and significance as a ruler." So basically what you're saying is that Augustus Caesar was super insecure and could not accept Cleopatra leaving him, so he made her look like a dumb girl who only made it forward because of her looks.
Oh, yeah, I agree with you. And Griffin, here's a depiction of her I want you to describe to the listeners of the picture we're seeing right now.
Okay, yeah, so basically what we're seeing is a marble figurehead of Cleopatra, and by no means is she a Katy Perry. Let me just tell you guys that.
Wow.
Just the truth. Her nose is pretty big, I've noticed, and yeah, it honestly looks like your run-of-the-mill figurehead. She looks very serious in this picture. Her hair's back in a bun. She looks very serious and stern. She does not look like someone who I would consider an Aphrodite, as Katy Perry kind of put it. But I definitely do think that the people under Cleopatra's reign saw her as more of a serious icon rather than this beautiful goddess. It's actually this very educated woman who led multiple nations under her reign and introduced some mathematical revolutions and evolutions that no one has seen before in this world. She was actually very smart and very strategically focused on her people and on her mission. And this kind of reminds me of a bumper sticker that I saw that said, "Well-behaved women rarely make history." It's unfortunately true in this sense, as society, by its own fault, has manipulated this extremely smart and brilliant woman into a kind of provocative icon that, in truth, from our sources, was not provocative at all. Hollywood even described her as having a man-a-night appetite, which is totally untrue.
And the same kind of notion applies to someone like Marie Antoinette, who actually did not say, "Let them eat cake," and got the brunt end of the French Revolution. It's kind of tough if you ask me.
It is. It's very sad that society has this weird obsession with putting people, especially women, into boxes. I think it's almost because they want like this icon just to represent everything. They're only looking at one dimension of a multiple three-dimensional person. So, anyways, that's all we have for you on this week on What History Got Wrong. Next week, join me as I am presenting to BJ on what history got wrong, specifically the moon landing. So I'm very interested in that.
That's amazing.
Yep.
See you next week.
Yep. See you guys.